Good morning. Good morning. Morning. We're sorry we're running late here. It's Wednesday, March the 20th, and to the State Gov Committee, welcome. Mr. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Representatives Alexander, Bricken, Butler, Carringer, Chisholm, Dixie, Haston, Holsclaw, Hurt, Jernigan, Johnson, Leatherwood, Littleton, McAlman, Miller, Pearson, Powell, Powers, Rudder, Terry, Vice Chair Eldridge, Chairman Kiesling.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have quorum.
Wonderful. Members, we barely have a quorum. Just an FYI. Those of you, we got to keep a quorum. So I know I know some of you got to do in and out. So maybe we here comes Representative Gann. Well, anyway, we've got Chisholm coming in, so we'll try to keep a quorum. Quickly, we'll get started. This day in history, March 20. What happened? Well, the year was 1854. No, it wasn't. It was 1916, and Albert Einstein presents his general theory of relativity. It's one of those most influential theories in physics. 1922, on this day, the USS Langley is commissioned as the first United States Navy aircraft carrier. 1982, the U.S. scientists returned from Antarctica with the first land mammal fossils found there. And finally, in 1991, Michael Jackson signs a $65 million deal with Sony Records that produced 6 albums. Fred Rogers today is commonly known as Mr. Rogers from the American TV show. His birth year was 1928 on this day, and the number one song on this day, it was in 1975, and it's a song that Chair Lady Carringer sings nightly to Mike, her husband, and it was by Frankie Valli. My eyes adore you. She says that's right. So, okay. All right. We do have a quorum. So now let's move to personal orders and announcements. Do we have any? Yes, we do. Chairman Bricken, you're recognized.
I'll borrow one.
Okay, borrow. Get you one there.
I would like to recognize Coffee County's 911 director, Scott Leduc. If he'll stand up, he does a great job in managing 911 for our county.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
I am honored today to have with me Raylan Langley. Raylan, can you stand? She is shadowing me, and she's from Sparta, Tennessee. Y'all give her a warm welcome.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Also on this day in history in 1965, President Johnson, Lyndon Baines Johnson, informed Alabama Governor George Wallace that he was going to have the Alabama National Guard protect marchers from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. They were marching for voting rights. And so as we think about things happening now in the Shelby v. Holder decision in our state, the disenfranchisement with 1 out of 5 Black folks not being able to vote, we know this is still such an important issue in our state. And so just thank you to Amelia Boynton, John Lewis, Hank Sanders, Mr. Ray, and people who keep that Jubilee in Selma going and the March for Justice continuing. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Further announcements or personal orders? No, I don't see any. Now, we're going to get started. Now, let's go to our calendar. I'm going to, the chair, if there's no objection, the chair is going to do something that because of we're now late into the session as far as this committee schedule goes. So I'm going to do something because of a travel issue. Well, on Chairman Hulsey's bill, I want us to focus. If there's no objection, let's focus on item number 29, House Bill 2803. Chairman Hulsey, you have an amendment, and members, listen up. It is an untimely amendment, and I know we don't, procedurally, we don't like to do this, but because we love you, Chairman Hulsey, we're going to see if there's no objections, we'd like to get, well, first of all, we got to get the bill. We got to make we got a motion and a second. Next, we got to get this amendment on if at the pleasure of the committee. Are there any objections? I see none.
Just what is the amendment? Since it's untimely, what does it do?
Okay, we would have to admit it is substantive, but would we not need to get it? Well, no, we not. Why don't you, before we get a motion in a second, can you
Thank
explain
you,
that?
Mr. Chairman, and there was
Okay,
objection.
There's the gavel, so
There-
go.
There was objection that you love me right there. I heard it expressed, but this amendment just removes 5 words. In the bill, it says the wording has to be existing property. It takes those 5 words out.
Could you give us this paragraph, I mean, the location of that, Chairman, please?
It's at the end of the bill, I believe. Gee whiz, I can't find it now.
Okay.
That's what, that's
can
what
you-
the amendment
can you
does. It
handle it?
removes those 5 words.
Uh,
Okay.
If there's no objection, we're going to go out of session. We're going to defer to Mr. Mundy, our legal, please.
Thank you, Matt Money from Legal. My recollection was, given the nature of this bill, to allow someone to mint coins. The prior amendment the treasurer would have to contract with someone who was already in existence. And I think the amendment was to take out a few words that would allow them to contract with someone who isn't in existence at the time of the effective date of this act, but who might come into existence for the purposes of doing that.
Everybody understand? Any questions to council? I see none. So, no objection. We're back in session. Any questions on them? Further questions? Chairman Jernigan? None? Okay. Anyone else? All right. If there's none, we will proceed. We need a motion and a second to get this on the bill. So we do have a motion and a second, but before we do, you're going to have to give us tracking code, Chair, please.
Yes, sir. It's 015296.
Yes, that's right. That is correct. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong number. Okay. Amendment 15296. No objection. Let's vote. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes prevail, and it is now on the bill. Now, you, Chair, will give us a explanation, and then we have testimony. We have some
Yes, sir.
folks here that are traveling, and that is the purpose of the change here on our calendar. So, Chairman Hulsey, you recognize, sir.
And let me thank you so much for your indulgence and your sacrifice to help out. The gentleman I want to speak was overseas last week, and I'm not sure he's not going to be back next week. And so this is the one shot we could
Sure.
get him here.
Go right ahead.
As you know, those of you who've been here, I've been for 8 years working on a gold depository and all the trappings that go with it. And that has been a slow process, but it's moving. Part of that is to establish a mint and a Tennessee mint that will go hand in hand with this. There's a company right here in Tennessee that called Artisan, and that's the gentleman that I want to talk to you, that produces coins for the U.S. mint right now. As a matter of fact, when I had trucks, I hauled 46,000 pounds of pennies one time to the Denver Mint, and you've hauled them as well,
I
Chairman.
have, yes.
And they also make commemorative coins. They make silver eagles for pure silver for the U.S. government. The state of Texas right now does the same thing and sells them. The state sells them, and that's what the whole program is here. We will do our own minting with commemorative coins for other countries, for other states, for individual collectors, and it creates a pretty good revenue stream for the state of Tennessee. That's what it's all about. And so that if you will indulge me, I would like you to hear from Mr. Mike Schubert, who's the president of Artisan here in Tennessee. And he can tell you about how many people they employ, how they do it, the benefit that it comes for the state of Tennessee. and for the people who live here. So
Thank you, sir. If there's no objections, then we'll go out of session. We will ask Mr. Schubert. And Mr. Schubert, I see also that you have accompanying with you is Mr. Chuck Lane, who everyone knows on this committee. Guys, come on up, but you still need to identify yourselves and tell us who you're with, and we will we'll begin with whoever wants to begin. All right, there you go, guys. Make sure you get your mics on. Scoot up. Now, wrong button. Three. Look at me. Look at me.
Yes, sir.
3 fingers. 3 minutes. Okay, each. Okay,
Okay,
go.
I won't be long. I'm Chuck Lane, and I'm here representing Artisan, who I've represented for quite some time.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Mike Schubert. I am the president of Artisan.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to the committee. Appreciate a few minutes to speak. I was approached by leadership in the state of Tennessee about would Artisan be interested in considering helping the state think through a strategy for bullion and minting. And honestly, my first answer was, why would you want to do that? And so as we got into what the desire was and some of the challenges that have occurred over the last few years, for instance, with as COVID hit and the dollar plummeted, the state of Tennessee lost a 9-digit number worth of value to their portfolio just because of currency fluctuations, because we really didn't have a hedge against any of that. And so what do precious metals do? They're a hedge against currency fluctuation. There are lots of other reasons to do this, and I have warmed up to the idea as I've investigated it. Artisan as an organization has been around since 1880. If you've ever done any canning, the Ball brothers needed a soft metal in 1880 to seal their jars, and that's our legacy. They consolidated their Muncie, Indiana plant and their New Jersey plant in 1970. So Artisan has been in Greenville since 1970, so a little over 50 years. We provided coin blanks to over 25 countries. We've provided over 350 billion blanks to the U.S. Mint. And I think one of the things that really kind of got me very warm on the idea is the U.S. Mint, the CFO was visiting us last September, and I mentioned to her that we were working on a project and we might be getting into bullion, and she looked me in the eye and said, Mike, I would love to buy bullion from Greenville. So I think we've got an awesome opportunity to not only sell it to the U.S. Mint, to other states. I travel internationally. I'm gone probably 8 times a year traveling. We could sell it all over the place. So it started off as, can we build a hedge against currency fluctuations in the state of Tennessee? I think that's a great idea. There's a companion bill going through for the depository, but I think the opportunity is even bigger than that.
Good. Thank you, sir. All right, you have heard. Any questions to, yes, okay. Yes, Representative Chisholm, you're up.
I'm
Or
Representative
Dixie, I'm
but
sorry,
that's
excuse
okay.
me. Oh, my goodness.
I'm out of order, Mr. Chair, but I just
Okay, you
I
go
just
right ahead.
want to
Go.
take like a personal privilege.
Sure.
I have one of my friends here named Damita Smith. She's here with the Day on the Hill, Damita Smith Knight. I saw the way she looked at me. And she's here with TSCPA. It's their Day on the Hill, and this is my twin, but we have different mothers and we're born on different days, but we're still twins. But I just wanted to stand up, Damita, and everybody say hello.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Representative Dixie. Okay, any question? Yes, Representative Chisholm, you are recognized.
So what would the process look like if we were to go into bullion?
So I think there's a couple things that need to happen. You need to have a place to put it first. I visited the Texas Depository in December last year. I believe the treasurer was there too. Senator Nicely was there also. Got to meet with them, and they run a pretty tight ship. So I think the footprint for how to store it's already established. I have contacts around the world, and I've been given a turnkey quote on the equipment to manufacture it. So I think it's important that if you're going to go in a process like this, that you get in bed with people, so to speak, that know what they're doing. And this is the type of thing that if we do it well, it'll be fantastic. But we cannot afford to have a misstep. So I think we've got to partner with the right people. So the right manufacturers, Artisan's fairly local, Greenville. You know, it would be nice to be able to control our destiny from a bullion standpoint. So Artisan would buy the raw material, which is already a refined silver or gold. We turn it into coins or medallions, depending on who we're selling it to. I only say that because there's some legalese in the Constitution that you can only make certain types of coins. You can make gold and silver. You can't make other coins as a member of the United States. And then we would put those in the depository. We would sell those to other organizations, and that's how it would work. There's also some additional technology which we might bring in the future, which would allow people to transact it much easier in the state. So with a debit type card or something like that, I think that's out there a little ways. But as we think about how do we build a store of wealth, how do we do something in the state that makes sense for the state? You got to be able to buy the raw material. You got to have a place to put it. We already understand how to transport it pretty well because we do that already.
Good question, Representative Chisholm. Follow up.
Yes, and where would the raw materials come from?
They could come from anywhere. I have been in this year already. I've been in Europe and Africa talking to potential suppliers. It's really important to buy from someone who is accredited so that the quality of your product is not questioned. And so it typically is LBMA, which is London Bullion Metal Association. They do accreditation. So you have to buy from the right people because you don't ever want anybody to question the quality of your product.
Representative Chisholm, can you wrap it right here? Okay,
sure
go.
will.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned selling to the federal government.
Mhm.
Would that change the value or how we do our U.S. dollars?
No,
Mr. Schubert, you're up.
If we sold to them, what this would do is allow Tennessee to be a supplier to the federal government and basically charge them money for a product. If you go online and look at what a Silver Eagle's worth, it's always worth more than the value of the metal. So if you had to pick one customer in the world to sell, 1 ounce silver bullion medallions to, it's the U.S. government.
Okay, you're okay. Representative Powell, you're up.
Could you speak to, looking at this, would you be the only ones providing the service? Or are there any other groups out there that also can?
Mr. Schubert?
There are people and organizations around the world that can do this. Our thought process was if we're going to get into this and we want to build a depository, if the desire for a store of wealth in Tennessee makes sense, then being vertically integrated and being able to manufacture the products the way we want them manufactured, could be a really sound part of that strategy. Are there other people in the United States, other people around the world? Yeah, there's lots of people who do bullion. I say lots. It's probably 10-ish that you would trust buying bullion product from.
Representative Powell?
But you're the only Tennessee-based entity that you are aware of that could do this.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes, sir.
Representative Powell, nothing else. Okay, any further questions while we're out of sight? Yes, we do. Yes, Representative Dixie, sorry, you're up.
Quick question. You said that you would sell it. What other organizations or could you sell it to other countries as well?
Yes.
So
part of the skills that we would build is the ability to design coins for people. So for instance, in the state of Tennessee, we'd probably have multiple coin series. You could have a couple different coins each year. And then what you would do is you only have a certain amount of time you manufacture those, and that creates scarcity, which creates demand, right? So other countries, other states would do the same thing. I know that Tennessee has been approached by at least 4 other United States and pretty much said, if Tennessee does this, we would like to buy from the state of Tennessee. So when you get into a venture like this, you'd like to have, a pre-list of customers. And I think we've done a good job with the federal government and then other state governments of starting to lay the groundwork for, we build this, they will come.
Follow up, Representative Dixie.
And I think I heard your answer, but other countries could buy this too. Like, for instance, could like China or any other country?
Probably not China, but if you think about smaller countries that don't have their own mints, a lot of the, Central American countries, Caribbean countries, they don't have their own mint. So this would give us the ability to supply them a complete product from what is basically a local regional manufacturer.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Further question? No, he says not. And Representative Pearson, you recognize.
Thank you so much. You mentioned you've been in touch with people in Europe and also on the continent of Africa. Is that where the metals would be coming from?
Potentially, I think as we develop our supply chain, we need to be able to purchase it from anybody that is potentially trustworthy. Because what I have found is when the U.S. Mint gets going strong, which if we're their supplier, that's fantastic. But when they get going strong, it's hard to get silver from anywhere else. So if I was only looking in North America for silver, we might be limited in our supply chain. So I'm just making sure that if this moves forward, that whatever Tennessee or any other state or organization, whatever orders they place on us, we'll be able to supply. So it's just part of the total supply chain
Good.
strategy.
Representative Pearson,
Gotcha.
follow up.
The only thing, and I appreciate you bringing this bill, Chairman Hulsey, is the environmental ramifications for the places where we would be getting this. And you
Mhm.
mentioned, one, knowing where you're getting the materials is very important, but then knowing the people who are getting those materials,
Absolutely.
ensuring their safety and well-being too. So that's something I'm thinking
Very good.
about.
Okay.
Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any further questions while we're out of session? I see none, so no objection. We are going back into session. Thank you, gentlemen. You may take your seats. Back up from that table and take your seats and stand by. Okay, we have heard Chairman Hulsey. All eyes are on you now. Do you have any concluding remarks, sir?
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate you hearing what this project's all about. Again, it's another piece in what we've been working on for about 8 years, just to get down the road. What we can do with this is tremendous. Also, what he said was very important about a hedge. We last year passed a bill for the treasurer to begin purchasing gold and silver bullion. And the plan is to find a place to put it, but it's also an investment as a hedge against a decreasing currency system. And looking down the road at a central bank digital currency, this is also another thing to give you other options on it. And it's a piece of this whole system that creates a revenue stream for Tennessee that's
Okay.
pretty healthy.
Any
So-
questions? Yes, we do. Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Sponsor, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, because you never give up on something you truly believe in. And I appreciate all the hard work you're putting into this. And I think it's very important for the state of Tennessee. And we thank you from the bottom
Thank
of our
you.
heart.
I might mention the lieutenant governor signed on in the Senate bill. It's got a pretty healthy fiscal note. But that's the battle we'll take on with finance. So
Okay. Well, we're fixing to take a vote. I think we've got a call for the question. Would you want to sing maybe a verse of "My Eyes Adore You" before we take this?
you'll vote
vote,
no
sir?
if I do that.
We've
So
got-
no.
But just kidding. All right. I see no objection. Let's vote. Those in favor of House Bill 2803 as amended, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail. Well, the ayes prevail, and you are going to ops. Government operations, sir. Okay. Happy trails. All right, we are going to make another exception. Please focus on item number 44. Item number 44. And bear with me, I'm trying to get to it myself here. Item number 44. Okay, that is House Bill 2959. Representative Hardaway, you're already up there. Representative Hardaway has some guests here from the University of Memphis that he would at this time like to recognize. And we're going to make an exception because he's probably going to take you to lunch following this. So with that, Representative Hardaway, you're recognized on House Bill 2959. And did I hear a motion and a second? Yeah, we did. We got a motion and a second. No amendments. No amendments. So you are recognized, sir.
Okay. I think that might go down even easier. Gentlemen, one of my favorite quotes is from Frederick Douglass. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. We know this to be true. We have some well, I'll call them pilot programs. There's small programs that are currently in effect in our Tennessee Department of Corrections, where those incarcerated parents are being encouraged and educated on how to have ongoing relationships with their children. We also know that the statistics indicate that those children who have one parent that's incarcerated are more likely to follow that parent. If there are two parents who are incarcerated, far more likely to end up in the justice system, not just the juvenile, but the adult justice system. So with that being said, we're asking for a committee to be formed that will study this issue and come back and offer to this committee a plan on how to create the parenting plan for those who are incarcerated so that they can be the positive influence in their children's lives instead of the negative influence in their children's lives. With that brief explanation, Mr. Chairman,
right.
I'll ask
Very,
for
very
questions
good.
and
Well explained.
affirmative.
Okay. Any questions to the sponsor? Yes, we do. Yes, Representative Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we not already do this in some form already through the Department of Corrections?
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman. We do in a limited form. What we're looking for now is a formal program that we can have in every one of our prisons facilities.
Representative Butler.
So you're saying we have these programs in some of our prisons, but not in all of them?
Correct.
Okay.
Follow up? No, he says no. I'm sorry. Representative Dixie, was that you, sir? You're recognized, sir.
Thank you to the sponsor for bringing this bill. There's a lot of things that happen, but one day these men will get out of prison, but the fathers will be in their lives, and sometimes it's hard to reintegrate them into their lives. There's a lot of programs to help mothers and their kids, but there's not a lot of initiatives to help fathers to learn how to be fathers and take that extra step. So I've worked with Commissioner Carter on trying a fatherhood initiative across the state to try to help fathers, especially reintegrate to their children's lives, because whether they're with the mother or not with the mother, they still need to be in their child's life. So thank you for doing this and help facilitate this, because this is very important as well.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Do you want to, would you
just
want to
a re-
respond to that, Representative Hardaway?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. To give Commissioner Carter his due, because it was in his amplification of fatherhood event where this topic was first breached in my presence. And it's because of him that we're here today.
Okay, very good. Yes, Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Sponsor, I just want to make sure that I understand this would also be for women who are in prison as well as men. So it's just incarcerated parents, either one, correct?
Representative Hardaway.
Yes, ma'am. And I offer my apologies if I indicated anything otherwise,
No,
but
I
it's
was
for
just-
parents.
Just wanting to double check and make sure that it's for either one that could be based on what you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, great.
And I believe that it takes that balance,
Yep.
mother and father, to raise the best children.
Thank
Those
you,
single
sir.
parents can do the job.
Any further follow-up, Representative Alexander? Great. No. Okay, good. All right. Any further questions to Representative Hardaway? I see none. If there are no objections, we are going to vote and take this to a vote. So those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail. And Representative Hardaway, you are headed to Finance, Ways and Means, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Congratulations. Yes. Okay. What we're going to do, and I'm looking at Chair Lady Helton as I say this, if she would be patient with one more, and And this is the chairman's. And I'm going at this time, we're going to go out of session in order to take the gavel and relocate it in the front of Chairman Eldridge. And I'll allow Chairman Eldridge to take off.
We are back in session. And I'll get it straightened out here in a second. Let's see here. We are on item number 6 with Chairman Kiesling. Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Chairman Kiesling.
And we have an amendment
All right,
on
sir.
this one. And that amendment, okay. Oh, you did get a motion and a second.
We do
Okay.
have a motion.
All right,
and
now
a second.
on the amendment now, that amendment is 14191, sir.
All right, does it rewrite the bill, sir?
It does.
All right, without objection, we'll go ahead and vote to add the amendment to the bill. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is now on the bill, and Chairman
All
Keesling,
right,
you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, what I did, your chairman did, I wound up a long time ago, even before this bill had been assigned to a committee, I committed to it. And I don't normally, I just don't carry, my policy is I don't carry bills. But anyway, I'd already committed to it. So that's where we are. This bill is 2094 is addressed as an emergency powers renewable bill. Now, let me move, and I do have testimony, but let me give you members and just a quick overview of this. Currently, the governor can issue a state of emergency for 45 days. We know that. But after the 45 days issuance, the governor possesses unlimited discretion to renew the emergency executive order without encountering any checks and balances. And there's no disrespect intended by that remark, but effectively granting renewal authority for an unlimited amount of time. So this proposed legislation, it aims to or addresses to establish a system of checks and balances concerning the governor's authority to renew states of emergencies that again impact, or not again, but that would impact 48 counties or more, ensuring accountability and oversight. Now, the General Assembly will be required to approve or deny any renewal or extension that would impact more than 50% of the counties in this state via joint resolution. So the General Assembly may specify a duration for the extension in the joint resolution. Now, with that, that's your overview. Now, I have testimony coming. This came to me from our group Free Tennessee, FREE. Kayla Garrettson is with us today. Kayla, if you'll be making your well, with that, Chairman, I'm sorry. I need to revert back to you and let you allow that. I apologize. Back to you, Chairman Eldridge.
All right. All right. At this time, we'll go out of session to hear from Kayla Garrettson from Free Tennessee. And if you would, just please make sure your microphone's on, please.
And if I may, before she begins, Chairman, if I could be recognized just for this one comment. I'm really, and I'll fess up, I'm only the messenger. If you got any questions, be sure to ask that lady right down there, not me on this one, until I can get more familiar with. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, Chairman. All right, Kayla, you're recognized for your comments.
All right. My name is Kayla Garrettson. I'm with Free Tennessee.
Ma'am, let me say this. There is a 3-minute time limit, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, my name is Kayla Garrettson, and I'm with Free Tennessee. We're a 501c4 that endorses liberty-minded legislation. As Chairman Kiesling mentioned, this bill addresses what current law is. So the current law actually passed in the year 2000 under Public Chapter 946. And essentially what it did is it established the governor's authority during states of emergency. And there weren't any restrictions or limitations put on that authority. So he can suspend law and create rules, and they effectively can last for an unlimited amount of time because he can renew them every 45 days. And so, what we are seeking to do with this legislation is just put a checks and balances on that power, because that is such a huge, enormous power to give to one person. And so we thought about this a lot, and 13 other states actually do require their general assemblies to do a checks and balances during a state of emergency. And they do this by convening just as our law would. Something you'll see in this legislation that you don't see in the 13 other states is that specifically we're talking about only if the state of emergency impacts more than 48 counties. We're doing that with this bill specifically because Tennessee, we do have tornadoes that impact 4 to 6 counties at a time. There are different natural disasters that we have quite a bit here recently, and we don't want to hold up any process as far as those states of emergencies and those being declared by the governor and those people being able to get the resources they need. However, when we're talking about a large state of emergency that is impacting more than 50% of the state, we're talking about a huge power where he can literally suspend any rule or law. In fact, I believe in TCA right now, the only 2 laws that are protected are Second Amendment rights and your right to convene in a religious capacity. Those are the only 2 that he's limited of touching. So with that, he can still issue the state of emergency, and it would still last for 45 days time. This bill is not about the issuance. It is about the renewal period only. So after he issues that initial 45-day issuance and everyone starts receiving help or whatever it is with that state of emergency that's being delegated in the executive order, we would like for the General Assembly to convene only if he would like to renew, and again, only if it's impacting more than 50% of the counties. Now, the amendment that makes the bill, there was one concern that came up in subcommittee, and I gave an answer, but it wasn't clarified in the legislation, and that was, does the General Assembly have to convene every single 45 days? And my original interpretation with this language was that the General Assembly would actually get to specify the duration. So you would get to, when you would come in and convene, you would talk and discuss about how long you would like that emergency order to continue on. Okay. And so we went ahead and clarified that in this amendment. I believe it's in that first section.
I'm going to interrupt you right here. Your time's expired.
Okay, no
But
worries.
we
Yes,
have
any
unlimited
questions?
time for questions. So if you would, we do have some people on the list here. So Representative Powell, you're first up.
Thank you, Chairman and Chairman. Specific question, and you started to touch on this. My concern here is the General Assembly would have to convene in the 45 days. And you could be in a situation where even coming together might create a public health risk. We can disagree about things that have happened in the past, but who knows what could happen in the future. And so my concern is if we are required to come back, and then as difficult as it can be for sometimes just for us in the House to agree, and then also have to agree with the Senate, my fear would be that you could have a situation where these executive orders could expire, and then we could be at great risk. And so I think when you have a fairly what I would consider to be extraordinary situation where you had that many counties that had to be under executive order, my thought is that the governor, would obviously be acting hopefully in his or her best, guidance and efforts to keep the public safe. But that would be my main concern is the requirement to have us all come back together every 45 days in a serious situation where that might be necessary.
Mhm.
But and just to clarify, I mean, obviously, we would have to come together because I heard I listened to a little bit of this in the previous subcommittee I wasn't on it, but I listened to some of the testimony. But we would have to come together in person, correct?
That's actually that's a great point. So there's actually no stipulation in the Tennessee State Constitution that requires when the General Assembly convenes for it to be in person or in Nashville, for that matter. In fact, historically, I think they have convened in like Knoxville at one point in time. We kind of discussed this briefly just with Matt, but so with that being said, and other states also have convened virtually as well. Now with that, the House rules would obviously they change with every special session anyways, but to my knowledge, there's nothing that requires in either TCA or in the state constitution that requires you to convene in person or in Nashville.
Go ahead, Representative.
And I guess this brings out my further issue is going back to us agreeing, for us even to agree how we would convene, if not in person, arriving at that conclusion on how to conduct business. If we had to, hopefully, again, this never happens, but I do think, under an extraordinary situation where it might in a circumstance, even agreeing to that, my fear is that might bind ourselves in a situation where, we have to, we either disagree or we can't convene adequately. And then a serious situation that could arise could lead to even further trouble because you would have this executive order expiring. But I appreciate you answering the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on our list is Representative Pearson. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and Chairman. Part of this I actually really like, and let me commend you for being here, for working with Chairman Kiesling, for coming up here, presenting. Look, I do believe that people who are in executive positions sometimes overstep intended authority and their power. And I had a professor, Dr. Ruta Levitch, who wrote a book called The Imperial Presidency. And it was about how the executive branch is getting way more power and has been doing this for decades now. And so attempts that I think are well-founded to rein in some of the power of executives at the state level, actually, they make sense to me because we do need to ensure there's a system, I think, as you mentioned, Chairman Kiesling, of checks and balances in our processes so that we don't have one individual, one person who's in leadership, overriding the will of the people. The one challenge that I have with the legislation as it's currently written is its silence on how we would gather, because you think about some of the worst tragedies that can happen, and I'm not talking about just the health pandemic that's killed 1 million people. You think about, situations that could prevent us from being able to leave our districts, or in a super worst case scenario, right? Like there's some threat that has neutralized some of us from being able to be here in the first place, right? Like we don't know. It could be a very extreme, very extraordinary situation. And this is hamstringing the executive to just 45 days, right? To be able to act and to respond to that. And I believe there's a level of trust. And so my thing is really the timing. It's not the idea and concept, because I think it's a good idea and concept, but just to have it be 45 days, which is a little over a month for them to deal with what is an emergency for over 50% of our population. That's 3.5 million folks who are being impacted by something. I think that just the timing of it doesn't allow for real thoughtful planning on the part of the executive branch to be able to meet the needs of our constituents. So that being said, like right now, I am a no, but I really could get to a yes with an extended period of time, because the reality is the logistics and the planning and operations of taking care of millions of people takes time. And I wouldn't want to hamstring whoever the person in leadership is from being able to do what at least they believe is in the best interest of the health and the safety of all of us. So thank you so much.
All right. Next on our list is Representative Bricken.
I'm going to have to borrow your mic since I can't get mine going. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A quick question. Did your committee or your group consider culling down the, instead of the General Assembly coming together, just having authority granted to, let's say, the leadership of both houses in a small group that would, I think, hopefully be representative of the bodies, which would allow, a fast mobilization and action on this. So did y'all consider?
Yes, sir. We actually did it after you brought that to my attention when we had met. Yes, so I did consider whether maybe we, instead of the entire General Assembly coming together, maybe we should just have leadership come together, and then that I'll just defer back to the Constitution. So when the governor has this authority, everything he does has the force and effect of law, and he can suspend any law that you all have passed in the past, right? So the Constitution is very clear that the legislative branch and all 132 General Assembly members, those are who has the right to create law in the state. And then, of course, after it becomes, passes through the General Assembly, then it gets referred to the governor's office. So that power is not delegated just to the speakers, and it's not delegated just to a small group of the legislature. It's that power to create law and to suspend law is specifically delegated to all 132 members of the General Assembly. And that's why we believe that your purview would be needed and necessary. Mhm.
All right. Next one on the list is Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up on Representative Bricken's comments, I don't know if we could go and ask legal based on her interpretation, because I think if it could be amended to do exactly that, have where you have the governor and his team, Commissioner of Health, et cetera, as well as the leadership of the House and the Senate, it would be easier for those individuals to get together than calling the entire General Assembly back, entire General Assembly. So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to know what would be legal's interpretation on that
We will be glad to ask legal.
comment.
All right.
Thank you, Matt Money from Legal. For the record, I agree with the concerns of the testimony given. I think that would probably be an unconstitutional delegation of the General Assembly's power into the Constitution. I think that it's something that the body as a whole would have to do. And to touch on some of the other comments about the process, we don't typically put a procedural process for meeting and rules because we can't bind subsequent General Assemblies. The General Assembly can't bind itself after this General Assembly ends, and they wouldn't be required to comply with that process. They could acquiesce to it as long as they wanted to, but that, in my suggestion was that would probably be a process that would be better put in the rules, which the legislature has power to adopt pursuant to the Constitution, in terms of how they would meet under emergency circumstances.
Is that good? Yes. All right. Representative Powell.
Another question for legal, just because this came to my mind as well. If we convened as a General Assembly, is it possible the scope of that convening could be outside of just this emergency declaration, and we could actually take up other matters, or would it just be defined to that?
Matt Money from Legal. I would say that is, historically, the legislature has met outside of Nashville on several occasions. The one that comes to mind is at the World Fair in Knoxville. The legislature convened in Knoxville for the World Fair. But in terms of how and when they would want to do that outside of the scope of this, I think that would be a decision for the body to make, if they wanted to do that and how they would do that.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
I guess, and my question is more to that about taking up legislation. So could issues be taken up in that convening beyond just renewing the emergency declaration? Is the way this bill is written, or would it be specifically to only renewing that emergency declaration? I mean, if the General Assembly was to convene, could other issues be taken up?
Thank you, Matt Money from Legal. am reluctant to get into issues outside the scope of this bill as it comes to the legislature's ability to pass legislation that might have to do with something other than an emergency executive order or renewing that. And so for that reason, I'll just defer on the question. Thank you.
There's a question for legal, a legal question.
Go ahead,
So-
Representative Pierce.
Thank you so much, Chairman. So if we were to gather, again, ideally, like I'm with you, but if we were to gather outside of session, would the governor have to call a special session in order for that to happen? Or it would take, is it 2/3 of us? They would call a special session to then be able to take this up?
Thank you, Matt Money from Legal. Currently, yes, that would be the process. If the governor wanted the renewal, he could call you in a special session, or the General Assembly could call themselves in a special session if they didn't otherwise have a process in place for meeting or convening.
All right, Chairman.
Go ahead.
And can you tell me again, the process for us calling ourselves in a special session? That would require 2/3 of us somehow to agree to it?
I believe that's correct, and I'm not sure exactly the mechanism by which they do that. When they call special sessions, you all may be more familiar with that, but I believe it is a 2/3 requirement.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Okay, are any other questions of legal? If not, we're back to Kayla. Is there any further questions for her? Seeing none, Kayla, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go back in session, and we're back to the chairman.
Thank you, folks, for members for the questions to Ms. Kayla. So that's I'm going to turn to you, Chairman, and just say I'm ready to
Sir, we have called, the question
renew
has
the-
been called.
renew it.
All right, all in favor of House Bill 2094 as amended, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. And your bill moves out to
Calendar and rules.
calendar rules. All right. Calendar and rules. And I'm going to hand the gavel back to the chairman. So we're out of session for just a moment.
Oh, well, sorry.
What?
It actually goes to finance.
I apologize. This bill does move out to finance, not calendar and rules.
Go. All right. Let's get back in line. And I am begging Chair Lady Haynes to come forward. I want to express my thanks to you for your patience. I'm so afraid that we have imposed on your schedule. I'm sorry for that. But before I do have one quick personal order. Chair, no, I promise it's just a moment. And I'm going to, at this time, if you'd allow me, please, I'm going to recognize Representative Butler. Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a leadership group that just stepped out the door from Upper Cumberland Electric and Plateau Electric memberships. Leadership group was just in here. They just left. Chairman, you had a constituent here. I had a constituent here, and there might have been another constituent or two of some other members, but I wanted to recognize them before they left. Unfortunately, they got out too quick.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now, Chair Lady Haynes, lunch will be on me just as soon as you and I can schedule it. I apologize. Okay, you're recognized now. Item 1, members, House Bill 2929. Chair Lady Haynes.
Thank you. House Bill 2929 eliminates an unused portion of our code that requires the State Building Commission to establish a ratio of water closets in large facilities, such as the new Titan Stadium. Instead of doing this, it's going to return it back to the locals where it is currently understood that the international plumbing codes adopted by Tennessee jurisdictions will be the appropriate organization to determine those ratios.
Great. Okay. Any questions to Chair Lady? Now, it looks like Senate, it's already worked its way through Senate, and it's being held on House desk, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Question. Well, all right. We've got a question already called on the bill. I see no objections. We're going to vote. Those in favor of House Bill 2929, please say aye. Those opposed, no. And the ayes have it. And this is the one that I said that Keesling would be headed to Calendar and Rules. You're headed to Calendar and Rules.
right.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Item number 2, members, is off notice. And yes, let me gavel that in. And item number 2 was House Bill 1889. Item number 3, Chairman Powers coming in with House Bill 2114. Yes, we got a motion and a second. And Chairman Powers, I see that you have an amendment, sir.
I do. Amendment number 14690.
That is correct. So let's get let's entertain getting that on the bill. So already got a motion and a second for Amendment 14690. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. And now, Chairman Powers, you are recognized on House Bill 2114 as amended, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2114, this simply provides that when a legal notice is required to be published in a newspaper of general circulation, the legal notice must also be published on a news and information website, if available, that meets the following criteria. And these are basically the same criteria that handed down by the TPA, the Tennessee Press Association. The website's operated by an entity that is headquartered in the county in which a notice is required to be published. The website is updated regularly, at least once a week. The website has been in continuous operation during the immediately 1-year period. The website conveys news of general interest of the community that it serves. The website is accessible at no charge by the members of the public in the community that it serves. As we know, many people now do not read traditional newspapers. I know a lot of the younger people in here probably don't, that we grew up with, especially in the 30 and under group. So they miss a lot of the legal notices that are printed in traditional newspapers. This will not affect those traditional papers in any way, but simply adds one legal free website publication per county if available for legal notices. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion.
Thank you, Chairman. And we are, yes, Chairman Ricken, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. The criteria for the websites and the meeting of the publication standards and all, who judges that to be sure they're in compliance? I mean, what department is going to be monitoring to be certain all the criteria?
Chairman Powers.
Okay. It would be, and I guess that would fall under Commerce and Department of Commerce and Insurance, because it would be the same department that regulates the newspapers that are publishing at least one time and the legal notices. So it would be that same department.
Chairman Briggen, follow up? No, he says no. Further questions to the sponsor? All right, got a call for the question. I see no objections. Let's vote. Those in favor of House Bill 2114 as amended, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail. And you are moving on, Chairman, to calendar and rules. Now, I am going to beg, I am looking to you, Chairman Powers, and if I could beg to be interrupt you for just a moment. I see that you do have the next two, but our Chairman Faison is needed in a committee immediately, as soon as we could get. Do you mind?
I really
would you
do
give
mind.
me permission
Yes,
to? Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. No,
Members
go
go to.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
He's kidding. Yeah. Members, turn your attention to item 13. That'll be on your calendar, page 11, if a print copy. So anyway. That would be House Bill 2732. Do I have a motion and a second? We do have a motion and a second. Traveling with an amendment, Chairman Faison, need that tracking code,
Thank
please.
you, Mr. Chairman Committee. It does have an amendment that writes the bill 14738.
He said 14738. Do I have a motion and a second? All right, we're going to get it on the bill. All right. See no objection. Let's get it on the bill. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. We now have 14738 amendment on the bill. Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, certainly good to be with y'all this morning. I have a bill before you that is for the TWRA. It does two basic things. It provides the TWRA have appropriate authority to manage Lake Hawford and its unique amenities, as well as other agency lakes consistent with community expectations. And then finally, it also makes a clarification that a possession permit is not also required if one has a propagation permit. I can get in the weeds and explain that to you if you want, but that's
I
basically what it
don't.
does.
Okay. I don't want you to do that. Not now. But okay. Thank you for that explanation. Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Look, I read the initial bill here, which I honestly, reading the amendment and even looking at our mark calendar, it takes out some things. And so just want a little bit of an explanation as to why it says delete the provision requiring the license agreement to first be approved by the State Building Commission and Attorney General, revises the bill to provide the facilities described in the bill, including boat docks and all these other things, deletes the provision prohibiting the license term from exceeding 3 years, which in my opinion would allow for people, if there's a better deal, for the executive director to be able to renew it. So why do we remove those things?
Okay. Can you, we need you to address that, Chairman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we do have.
Yes, we do.
representatives
And
from
by the
TWRA.
way, Representative Pearson, we do have, he had, Mike, Senator Bell, do you mind making your way on up? That we have him down as possible testimony. So good question. We're going to ask you, Mr.
can
Bell,
repeat it.
we
It's
are
okay.
going to, if no objection, we're going to go out of session and you, sir, the spotlight's on you. Now, you heard the question, or would you like Representative Pearson to repeat?
If the representative could repeat the question,
Please,
I would
Representative
appreciate it.
Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. In the amendment, a few provisions were taken out. One was deleting the requiring license agreement to be approved by the State Building Commission and the Attorney General. The other revised the bill to provide that facilities described in the bill included, boat docks, marinas, all these things, but then deleted a provision prohibiting the license term from exceeding 3 years. And so just wanted to get an understanding of why those changes were made in the amendment.
Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Bell, Legislative Director for the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency. Those changes were made at the request of the State Building Commission and at the request of General Services, just to clarify language.
Representative Pearson, follow up.
Thank you. And is TDEC involved at all with the types of entities that might be in these particular areas? So if you're having a boat dock or you're building marina or something like that, what are the requirements that are going to be required for those particular areas as it relates just to protecting our wildlife, protecting our resources?
Senator Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me give the committee a little background on why we brought this particular language.
Please do. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've been contracting with vendors at state agency lakes for 50 years to sell bait, to sell ice, to rent canoes. But the comptroller in an audit last year looked at the language and thought the language, it was questionable whether we had the authority to do what we've been doing for 50 years. And so we brought this language to make it explicitly clear that what we've been doing for 50 years in contracting with vendors to sell bait, ice, and rent boats is within our authority. So this language that you have before you in this amendment is that clarifying language that the comptroller said we needed in order to do those offer those vendor services at our lakes that we've been offering for 50 years.
Got it.
Representative Pearson,
Thank
follow
you.
up.
Thank you for answering the question, and thank you, Chairman.
You betcha. Anybody else? Anyone else while we're out of session too? Mr. Bell, I don't see anyone winking at me. So thank you,
Thank you, Mr.
Senator Bell. We appreciate your time. All right, we are going to back into session, and Chairman Faison, final comment, sir. No, we are not going to accept your question on the bill. Yes, Representative Pearson has asked that question on the bill. So we've got a second. I see no objection. So I didn't mean to offend you, but I did though, didn't I? All right, let's vote. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and you are headed to Finance, Ways, and Means, and you need to thank this committee, Chairman. Yes, you sure do. All right. He owes us lunch. That's correct. All right. Representative Paris, thank you for your patience, sir. You're now recognized on item number 4, and that is HJR 0797. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Joint Resolution 797 is a constitutional amendment which simply states that a member who is expelled from office under Article 2, Section 12 of the Constitution of Tennessee under this section without resignation on or after January the 1st, 2027 is not eligible to hold a seat in or be employed by either the House or the House or the General Assembly. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion.
Thank you, Chairman Powers. We have testimony requested here on this bill, and we're going to ask at this time if she would like to continue. Would you still want? Okay. We have, I think, Ms. Fluharty that's coming forward for testimony. You know the routine, name, and we have three. Of course, need I remind you not? We're going to go out of session, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am. You're recognized.
Thank you. My name is Macy Fluharty. I'm a Tennessee Davidson County resident. This piece of legislation, much like its twin bills, is overkill. This last month, I spoke against HJR 0706, an incredibly similar resolution to this. And before that, a bill was passed in this committee, which was also eerily similar to this resolution. I hope this committee listened to my testimony against HJR 0706 well, because it applies to this resolution as well. There is a small difference between this resolution and HJR 0706, which is the time frame in which a member can be reelected back into their seat. In the previous resolution, an expelled member would need to wait 4 years to return. This would give that member time to work on themselves, specifically on what contributed to their expulsion. However, in this resolution, that time frame is taken away completely, making it impossible for an expelled member to be reelected. This would effectively override the will of the people. We choose who we want in office. We do not choose their expulsion. Representative Pearson previously asked me what these types of proposals do to the justice movement that is rising in Tennessee. These types of bills show Tennesseans that our vote doesn't matter, especially under the new House rules, seemingly making it easier to expel our representatives. These types of legislation probably contribute widely to our poor voter turnout. Fortunately, I have also seen the pettiness of such legislation light a fire under some people. Some Tennesseans are genuinely frustrated that this legislature aims to control who may be allowed to represent them when they see how vindictive this supermajority can be. The frustration will hopefully drive people to the polls and vote this resolution down, but I will say it for a third time. I worry that voter suppression and Tennessee's depressing political climate will deter voters from showing up, especially when legislation like this shows us how little that vote may matter in the future. We do not need 3 pieces of legislation that all override voters in their choices for representation. What we need is a legislature that will accept accountability and will work alongside all of their colleagues despite their identifying party, not make it easier to expel and remove them from office completely. This bill is overkill, it is petty, and voting for it would be too. Please vote no.
All right, questions to Ms. Fluharty? Yes, Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chairman. And Ms. Fluharty, thank you for coming up and just being an advocate and consistently showing up at the People's House at this chamber and for your advocacy. One of the things that you mentioned that I really think is important, and the question that I have for the sponsor is related to voter suppression, because it seems to invert the authority of who gets to select the people who serve here. And so could you just expound a little bit on how you are processing
Ms.
that?
Fluharty?
You said like how I'm processing like voter suppression coming out. It's frustrating personally for me. I've been active in our community for a while, and I still have friends that say they don't want to come out to vote. It's largely contributed to the way our legislature works, I believe. People just don't see the point in voting anymore if their vote is going to be overturned or ignored. And it stems down to people don't even want to show up in the legislative process because they feel that turns down their voice as well.
Representative Pearson,
Well,
follow up.
thank you for not letting it turn down your voice and for consistently showing up, and hope that encourages other people too. Appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions to Ms. Fluharty? I see none. All right. Well, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you.
All right. We are now, there we are. We're now back in session. And on top of the list, Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chairman. And sponsor, could you just explain why you think this bill will be beneficial to our constituents?
Chairman
Or
Powers.
this amendment?
Yes, the reason I think it would be beneficial is because if you've ever been expelled for any reason, whether it's financial or sexual misconduct or financial misconduct, any other thing that that might be egregious to our house and actually embarrass the House of Representatives and go against the decorum, then I think that once you're expelled, it's a very high bar to be expelled. It takes 2/3 of uh, the chamber of whichever you're expelled from, and it's just a very high bar. And if it's something that egregious, then I don't think that I think that should make you ineligible to serve again.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been expelled from this legislature. I was reappointed by my Shelby County Commission. I was reelected with 94% of the vote from my constituents who watched the expulsion hearings. But the people who matter, the people who elect us to these positions, voices, is what matters. The people who expect for us to advocate, to lift up their voices when things are going wrong, like that is what we are supposed to do as legislators. Now, if this body says something that a legislator does is out of decorum and they expel the legislator, which is the most significant penalty possible for a member or to happen to a member, I do not believe it is right or it is just to now put those same ideologies, those same retaliatory emotions and feelings on our ballots as it relates to changing our Constitution. For over 200 years, our Constitution's expulsion clause has existed in the way that it has. And I believe that the folks who did found this country and who wrote that, I think they were right. I believe that this constitutional amendment, Representative, is retaliatory. I believe that it targets two majority Black and people of color districts. And I believe that it falls in line, unfortunately, with the very racist history. I believe that this constitutional amendment, it is a knee-jerk reaction to what this legislature did to Representative Jones's community and to my community in District 86. The things that you mentioned are financial impropriety. One of the individuals who was expelled from this body committed bribery, which is an actual crime. You mentioned sexual misconduct. Another member of this body who was expelled committed 22 acts of sexual misconduct. Representative Jones and I, Representative Johnson, went to the well of the House floor because gun violence is the #1 killer of children in our state. That is why we were ultimately breaking decorum and ultimately why we were expelled. This is related to the bill, colleagues.
Yes. Okay.
We're
If
talking
you-
about decorum. We're talking about expulsions. I've been expelled.
Yeah.
So how is it not related to the bill? And I'm the only one up here
No, go ahead.
who's
and
ever been
continue, please.
expelled.
I'm just looking at the clock. Go
Thank-
right ahead,
thank-
sir.
Thank you,
please.
Chairman. Thank you. Because other folks who voted to expel me are now telling me I can't talk about being expelled because we advocated against gun violence. So I think the other issues that you mentioned, if you had an amendment that said if you committed sexual misconduct, if you committed financial impropriety, if you committed an actual crime that you could go to jail for, that I might understand. But speaking up on behalf of our constituents is not a crime. Advocating that we do something about gun violence is not a crime. That is why I do not support this amendment. That is why I think it's retaliatory. That is why I think it is racist. That's why I think it is immoral. That is why I think that this is wrong. And so that is why I will also not vote for this constitutional amendment. I encourage my other colleagues not to as well.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Representative Miller, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, could we go in recess? I have a couple of questions for the
For legal?
for legal.
Of course we
Yes.
can. If there's no objections, we will. We are now out of session and we will defer to our counsel. And counsel, you do not have to, I might remind you, you do not have to remind yourself. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we're gonna, Representative Miller, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, thank you. To legal. Legal, as I read the language, this is not with an amendment, but the proposed amendment to Section 10, 12, 15 of Constitution of Tennessee, prohibiting a member expelled from the General Assembly on or after January 1st, et cetera. This is very broad in a sense that a member can be expelled for criminal or non-criminal reasons or for any reason whatsoever. Is that true?
Mr. Mundy.
Thank you, Matt Mundy. For the record, under Article 2, Section 12, it says each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. I believe that it's within the jurisdiction of the House. It's the House's prerogative to determine what constitutes grounds for expulsion.
Representative Miller.
So again, trying to understand that you can be expelled for non-criminal purposes and reasons.
Mr. Mundy.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm sorry. Yes. What?
Second
One
question.
more. Yes.
Can in fact this committee and or the General Assembly vote for and pass a constitutional amendment that is unconstitutional?
Representative Mundy, or excuse me, Mr. Mundy.
Thank you for the question, Matt Mundy from Legal. No, I do not believe that this particular resolution will be unconstitutional because we are in fact amending the Constitution.
5 minutes. I'm not trying to be
Yes.
disrespectful.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, sir.
I'll catch it in the next.
Thank you for
committee.
your cooperation. Now, while we're still out, yes, Representative Powell to legal. Is that correct?
Yeah, to legal. So just to be clear, because I know you read that, it's possible for a member, because we heard some discussion, some different crimes and other things were being discussed, but essentially a member of the General Assembly can be expelled for basically whatever reason 2/3 of the members see fit to expel that member. Is that correct?
Mr. Mundy.
Thank you, Matt Mundy. For the record, the expulsion is contingent on punishing a member. It is an extraordinary step for disorderly behavior. I think it would have to fall within that language, punishes members for disorderly behavior.
Representative Powell.
I guess just a follow-up. So say, I know some of my other colleagues up here, one time we had to leave the chamber for our own reason. We were upset and wanted cooler heads to prevail. So my party decided to leave the chamber. Multiple members in this room were part of that. So that could be viewed as disorderly behavior, correct then? And basically all of us could be expelled under this amendment. Would you see that is that possible?
Thank you, Matt Mundy. For the record, I don't think that it's probably my position to speculate on what a House would determine to be disorderly behavior or not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, 3 minutes, folks. 3 minutes now. To you, while we're still out of session, Chairman Leatherwood, are you still to legal or not? No, he says no. All right. Any further questions? None. All right. Clock's running. Okay, we're back in now. Yes, Chairman Powers, you are recognized, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And due to time, I will not elaborate on some of the comments that were made, but I will just say it's a very high bar, 2/3 of the vote this year in this particular General Assembly, and then 2/3 of the vote next year, and 50% plus one in the next general election 2 years from now on the ballot. So the public will get to vote on this too. And with that, I renew my motion.
Okay, Chairman renews his motion. And okay, Representative Powell, did I understand you? Did you quickly? Yes.
I guess this is a technical thing.
Yes.
Constitutional amendment, it only has to pass with 50 this year and then 2/3 in the following General Assembly, correct? Because
Do we need
what
to
I
go
think
back?
you just stated is incorrect.
Okay. All right, if there's no objection, we're back out of session, back quickly to legal.
Thank you, Matt Mundy.
Mr.
from
Mundy.
Legal. Yes, that's correct. It would be passed by a majority vote this year. And then the next General Assembly, which would be next year, since we're entering a new biennial General Assembly, would be a 2/3 vote. And then it would go to the next election in which the governor's up for election, and it would have to be passed by a majority of those voting in an election.
Any further questions, Representative? Quickly, yes, sir. Go. No, you ready? Okay. Okay. Pardon? Well, we've already got a motion. If we got any further questions now? We need to run back into session. No objection. We're back in session. Now, here we go. We got a call for the question.
I thought I still had the floor.
Oh.
I would move this to summer study.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. All right. We have a motion. You have heard the motion. This has been referred to summer study. And are there any objections? Yes, we do have objections. That will posture us into a vote. Now, those voting aye will again, as a reminder, this will go to summer study. No, it will not. Simply stated. So, Mr. Clerk, no objections. We're going to vote. All eyes are on you, sir. I'm calling roll call. Yes. Chairman's calling for roll call.
Representative Alexander. Alexander votes no. Representative Bricken. Bricken votes no. Representative Butler. Butler votes no. Representative Carringer. Carringer votes no. Representative Chisholm. Chisholm votes yes. Representative Dixie. Dixie votes yes. Representative Haston. Representative Haston. Representative Holsclaw. Holsclaw votes no. Representative Hurt. Representative Hurt. Representative Jernigan. Jernigan votes yes. Representative Johnson of Montgomery. Johnson votes no. Representative Leatherwood. Leatherwood votes no. Representative Littleton. No. Littleton votes no. Representative McCalman. No. McCalman votes no. Representative Miller. Yes. Miller votes yes. Representative Pearson.
For District 86, yes.
Pearson votes yes. Representative Powell.
Yes.
Powell votes yes. Representative Powers.
No.
Powers votes no. Representative Rudder. Rudder votes no. Representative Terry. Terry votes no. Vice Chairman Eldridge. Vice Chairman Eldridge. Chairman Kiesling.
No.
Kiesling votes no. Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, 13 noes.
6 ayes, 13 noes. The ayes prevail. We are now back on the, we already called for the question on the bill. Okay, those in favor of HJR 797, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that prevails. And you are headed to Finance, Ways and Means, Chairman Powers, and that we are out of time,
Thank you, Mr.
members. Do I
Chairman,
have
committee.
a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn. Reminder
and I
that
found out it's
the
not Commerce and
calendar, the remainder on the calendar will be rolled to next week. Thank you, members. Appreciate it. We are adjourned.